Hey, this is Tim Anderson. Happy Thursday afternoon, January 9th, 2020. All right, so we're going to do our first question and answer session here. My assistant Tara has compiled the list of questions for the day. And again, if you asked a question and we're not getting to it, it's not because it wasn't a good question, but she has just taken the questions together that have been asked the most. And I'm going to try to answer those in the next 4 or 5 minutes. All right, here we go. What are the chances that the Virginia governor will declare an emergency session on guns? None. They're in session right now. Nothing's going to probably happen prior to July 1. I don't think it would happen. The only thing that can maybe get expedited is whether firearms will be allowed to be on Capitol grounds on January 20th. But that would just be a gun-free zone thing that they would push through. The rest of these bills unlikely would pass anytime before March, which would make them effective typically in July. Okay, so the next two questions are asked in different ways, but basically, what records do the gun shop keep when you buy a gun? So when you purchase a firearm, you fill out a federal application and you fill out a state application. Now, the federal application is your name, your address, your driver's license information, and it also has the firearm that you purchased. So the make, the model, the serial number, the caliber, and how many firearms you purchase. So it can be 1 to 4 on each form. That is all 100% captured on the federal form. Those records are stored at the gun shop for 20 years. It's required by federal code that those are captured for 20 years. Now, they're not transmitted to the state, but the state can certainly come look at them if it's under the auspices of a criminal investigation. So now in the state form, we tell them if you purchased a pistol, a rifle, a shotgun, or a revolver. It's one of those 4 categories of firearms. So what the state knows is that on January 3rd, 2018, you came into my gun shop and you bought a revolver. Doesn't know any more than that. So if it was a rifle, for instance, it could be an AR-15 or it could be a .22. There's no way to know. They don't know that unless they come in and investigate. All they would know is that you purchased a rifle. So those records are kept by the gun shop for 20 years. Unless the gun shop goes out of business and then they're sent off to the ATF for the 20-year storage. All right. Can we arrest the governor? Look, that's a law enforcement question. I mean, you can't arrest the governor as a citizen. If a crime has been occurred, you can report that to the police, and then that would be up to them to determine if a crime has occurred. But, there's no, just because your opinion is that the governor is doing something that is violation of the Constitution doesn't mean you can go arrest him for that. And here's a little thing, Facebook. You don't get to decide what's constitutional or not. Only the courts do. So once laws pass, if they are deemed to be unconstitutional, it's by legal challenge, not just by declaring something constitutional or unconstitutional from your lazy boy at home. So there's no realistic chance that you're going to get a police department to open a criminal investigation to arrest the sitting governor of Virginia. So I'd probably let that one go. And on another point, don't sign all these crazy online petitions to remove the governor. They're not valid. The removal process, I've talked about this a lot, has to be done in a specific way and requires wet signatures. So you're just wasting your time on all these like change.org petitions. None of that's going to be effective. If you want to effectively remove the governor, you have to capture about 400,000 signatures captured all over the state in different zones, depending on different people of how they voted, but about 400,000 in total. And they'd have to be wet signatures, and they have to be signed under the penalties of perjury. And then you still have to allege the governor misused his office. It's a big deal. It's not going to happen, not realistically going to happen. Nobody's able to get that much. It would be a stack of papers, 3 stories tall, of signatures front and back. It'd be a big deal. All right. McDonald versus Chicago, I get that. All that McDonald versus Chicago said is that the Second Amendment applies to the states. Got to keep in mind, courts have ruled that Maryland's assault weapons ban, high-capacity magazine bans, those are all constitutionally valid according to the courts. So McDonald versus Chicago is not going to save the day. Now, nobody's really challenged Article 1, Section 13 of the Virginia Constitution. I'm hoping that we can probably get some traction on the state side of this when the laws pass. All right, so there you go. There's your 5 minute of answers. Ask your questions tomorrow. Maybe you'll make them, and we'll talk to you guys then.